Before I start building a tool post to the lathe, I would like to ask you some help, but it's not for me, it's for Tom, Hilltop Machine Works. He had an accident in his workshop and he's got a big fire. Luckily for him and his dog, they could both get out just in time. Otherwise, it could have been worse. Way worse. He posted a video on his channel where he explains way better than I can do, and the YouTube community is starting to take actions to help him out to build all his stuff again. And because you are watching this video, you are part of this community. So what I'm asking, please go and have a look at his video. There is a link to this video in the description below my video here. And leave him a comment. Give him a tap on his shoulder that makes him go again. And with the help of everyone, in no time he will have a new workshop and make videos again. And now let's build a tool post. Parting off on this lathe doesn't work. I tried different things. I made different tool holders and it just doesn't work. And here I have a whole collection of broken blades. I had more or less a little bit results with this thing. I made a groove in here, and the height, of course, between the bottom side and the groove is exactly what I need for the center height on the lathe. And this groove takes these 20mm blades. And the blade is squeezed in with this kind of lid, maybe you can call it. And this is a very rigid system, so this works. The problem is on the machine. When I take heavy cuts with my machine here, I see that the cross slide is bending. This thickness here is not enough, it's not rigid enough. And inside this ring here, there's not enough meat left. And when I take interrupted cuts, I really see the whole tool post bending. So for parting off, that's maybe not a good idea. To make the thing here a bit more rigid, it could be possible to mount a bigger plate on top here. And then held in with a lot of bolts everywhere. But I think that's a complicated idea, and for normal cutting operations there's maybe not really need. It's only for parting off. So maybe what could work here is build a tool post on the backside of the machine and feeding this way. I've seen other YouTubers do this with great successes. And I have one, almost. In the cross slide here are already holes. I need to drill more, but I don't really have a problem with it. So that will be fine. This thing is of course way too high. So I will cut off a piece and then cut a slot in here for my tool bits to fit in. And I think it would even be better if I use this hole and make a reinforcement to make it even more rigid. And when I check the height I need, this is more or less the center, and my tool, I just have a little bit of material left here. If I cut it off, I can make a 90-degree reinforcement thing here. Of course, in my future tool post there are holes in here that are perfectly useless, but for ventilation maybe. Because I have to make two different parts out of this thing, I already started cutting it in two in the bandsaw. And then I say, oh, stop, it will be easier if I clean up the surfaces in one part and cut it in two later. And that's why here there's a little bit a cut in it, but whatever. First clean up a few sides of the thing. The useless cut. Well. I give the final pass with a shear tool, just to shear it up a bit, that's all. Cookies. If I install my workpiece here to cut this surface, it's too high. Of course, it's perfectly possible to do this with my extended tool holder and all this, but I think this is the right moment to cut it in two, so it will be much lower. And of course also, because I ran out of cookies. The thing is touching here again. I'm not true, but almost. Primitive. Oops. To cut the groove here that will hold my parting blade in place, I installed the part directly on the table, and this is where these two useless holes become useful. Sometimes in the comments people ask me if I want to explain a little bit more how I do setups and all these things. Of course. Now, to cut just a flat surface, I don't think it's rocket science. To show you how I set up to start cutting this groove here, I will bring you a little bit closer and you will quickly understand that it's not rocket science either. First of all, we have to take care that our cutting tool, this is a grooving tool of course, that it's nice and square with the surface of the workpiece. And to do that, very simple, give it a little bit of Sharpie mark, bring the tool down. I use the piece of paper trick. First of all, make sure that the clapper is
completely clamped down, of course, little paper, bring the tool down, and then later bring down one thickness of the paper. So now the tool is rubbing on the surface. And if it's nice and square, it cuts off just the width of the tool. If it's not square, it's gonna cut one side or the other. So here we're good to go. Of course, you do this within the surface. You have to cut out between these two witness marks here. If you cut it here, the mark will be there for always. And because the groove we have to cut has to start here on this line, this is 82 millimeters. Now you can use the trick as on the lathe, use your little scale here on the side and set the tool at 0 and then move. That's perfectly possible, but there is the problem of the backlash, of course. I think it's easier to take, if you can of course, now on this part it's perfectly possible, take your calipers and push your calipers until you have the right dimension. In this case it's 82 millimeters. And advantage of doing it this way is that the table is pulled this way and my cutting tool will push it that way. So the backlash will not be a problem.
To hold my parting blade here in place, I think I will reuse this lead kind of thing that I used for the old one. It's a little bit too short, but whatever, I think it will work. I just have to be careful, because when I install the thing in place and I wanted to hold it with these threaded rods in this hole here, just make sure that these holes and the holes for the rod will not interfere. But that won't be too complicated. There is, of course, one problem. My drill bit, 6.5 millimeter. If I want to drill through here, too short. But I have another one this is a junk quality drill bit and it needs sharpening, but if I weld a shank on it and then turn it in a lathe, same diameter than this one, I think that could work. Because after welding my drill bit was a little bit crooked in this little shaft I'm making, I wanted to tap it a little bit with a hammer. And I'm not sure we can call this success. But whatever, I will find another solution. Now, this drill bit is not an historical piece, so it's not really a loss for humanity. The 4 holes for the hold the thing in place plate here are drilled, and that could work, so no problem. And now I have to do some thinking, because below here there's a hole where this little rod can go in. And because I don't have the drill bit, it disappeared, long enough to drill all through, my idea is to drill from this side in this hole and from the bottom side in this hole, and use both holes, of course. So this distance I have to drill here in my cross-slide plate thing tool. But because this part comes behind here, and I have to bolt through in this direction, of course I don't want this bolt and this stud here to interfere with each other. So this could work. I maybe have to cut a little bit more here, but that's not really a problem. And then I have to invent one or another system that I still can use the hole that's behind here and drill a hole here through something. Shit. I just finished reassembling the whole thing here, and I made a brand new little cutting tool that of course will fit in here. I installed a nice and shiny little piece of steel in there, and let's see if the thing works. That should be something. I will give it a try at more or less 450 RPM. I have no idea if it's too much or not enough. We'll see. I have to stick out the blade a little bit more because I'm at the end of travel. Or maybe it's held on with a very little chunk here. I suppose it all looks very professional. Here you go. That's a nice finish. No chatter at all. Let's try something else. For example, this little piece of pipe. Alright. It's still a bit scary to do because I'm not used at it yet, but I think it works.